Hello, my name is Justin Leclue, and I'm here today with
Will Sloan.
And you're listening to the Important Cinema Club. And today, we're doing something a little special. We're going to give you the skeleton key to both me and Will's understanding of cinema itself.
That's right. We will be looking back. We will be reflecting on our lives as cinephiles. And we will be telling you we are each going to pick 5 movies that are not our 5 favorite movies. Probably they're movies we like, but they're all movies that when we saw them at a certain age fundamentally altered our understanding of what the art of cinema is and can do.
Now, we talked about what movies that we picked a little bit before this, and people should know that there's no movie that we saw like 2 years ago that were like, this blew my mind and made me re-understand how movies are.
Because I actually think also, like maybe there was one 2 years ago, but these things also become like apparent over the decades, I think. You know?
Yeah, what was Clint Eastwood's last movie that you saw?
Cry Macho. Actually, sorry, I'm adding a 6th.
1517 to Paris.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, man. Well, hey, listen, there are more than 5 movies that fundamentally altered my perception of cinema. I'm sure it's the same with you as well. And can I also just say, this episode is not for us because I'm going to say these movies and you're going to be so bored, Justin, because you've heard me...
Talk about these movies
You know me
before.
so well.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I'm going to get any surprises from you.
Well, you said this was going to be an easy topic, and I thought about this pretty hard to be like, how can I approach this? Will doesn't want to hear me say, Dawn of the Dead, when I saw it that first time, it really changed.
Well, you don't want to hear me say these ones either. And like, if that's true, it should be on your list.
Listen, I'm going to talk about Simon Lang's Stray Dogs, Charlie Chaplin's Monsieur Verdoux, Margaret Duras's Le Camion, and Godard's Contempt.
Those are your guesses for my list. Okay.
And I know they're not because we talked about it already.
No, those are not on my list, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad guesses. Those are all movies I like. Okay, your list is going to be Army of Darkness,
Nope.
Choi Hark, something. Iron Monkey. Iron Monkey. Is that going to be on your list?
Okay,
Okay, well, okay, listen, before I get too warm,
Yeah.
maybe we should just start.
Yeah.
Let's start
get
with
into
you.
it. Okay.
First movie, and this is in chronological order of when we saw them.
Yeah, so the first movie that I really had an impact on me was a picture that I saw in theaters. I saw it with my dad, and I was trying to calculate how old I was. I feel like I was too young to see it because I remember it scared me a lot, but in that fear, it created a kind of attraction towards it and then was opening a door to a bunch of stuff. And that would be a film directed by Henry Selick called The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, very good.
I saw theatrically in 1993, making me 5 years old when I saw it.
Was that movie scary to you?
So scary. To like cover my ears, close my eyes, scary.
In a good way?
Yes, because that then creates a kind of push-pull attraction to it. And it's also a film that is making me... And, we're going to be talking about filmmakers and aesthetic and authorship. And I know the next one that you're going to say is kind of in that same vein of you realizing there's a vision here that is not like anything that you've seen before.
Right. But the fact that it's a Henry Selick movie that's also a Tim Burton movie, did that get confusing to you as you got older?
Not really. I'm trying to think of of course, I went through a Tim Burton obsession like everybody did.
Who didn't?
I don't think I ever thought that he directed Nightmare Before Christmas, even though it said Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I definitely thought he did.
Well, that's because I'm a good man who it's all about, who are the people behind these projects.
And, you understand that cinema is a collaborative art form.
That's right.
Unlike me, I like directors who wield dictatorial control.
And so, when I saw The Nightmare Before Christmas, there's a bunch of things that are activating there. I mean, I love musicals. I'm a kid, so we're in the middle of the Disney Renaissance. All these movies are coming out. But then you're seeing something darker than everything else that you're watching. This ain't Beauty and the Beast. This ain't The Little Mermaid. This is such a singular vision. And the way that stop motion, did I know what stop motion was? When you're 5 years old, I don't think you're really thinking about how movies are constructed.
That's interesting. I mean, I think I sort of knew what stop motion was.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it was explained to me that it's they take a picture and then another picture. And then
aesthetically, you understand that, God, it's those damn Pengu shorts on TVO again.
Yes, that's right.
That's what Nightmare Before Christmas is.
You know what I could never understand, though, was, okay, you have all these different pictures that form a movie. An animated movie. Well, how do you get them all in the camera?
Yeah, well, you got to stuff them in and you put them in there. And so even if I, knew how this was done, the way it's presented on screen, I was like, but how do you do that? Even if you move them and you take photos, how is he jumping around, singing songs, lip sync, stuff like that? And I thought about that a lot after seeing Nightmare Before Christmas, to the point that I remember being obsessed with wanting to get that VHS when it came out.
Geez, I should have put The Wizard of Oz on my list, so maybe I'm just going to have it as an honorable mention here, because actually it is probably the first movie I ever saw, first movie I ever loved, first movie to show the full emotional range of what, well, not the full, a huge emotional range of what a movie can do, because it's funny, it's scary, it's sad, it's very scary at times. And in fact, there are certain scenes of that movie where like I would leave the room, they were so scary, and that almost became part of the ritual of watching it.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies when I was a kid that I would be obsessed with, but they scared me a lot, and I couldn't watch certain parts. In 1993, man, what a banner year for my parents taking me out to movies.
Schindler's List.
Yeah, my mom took me to see Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which is another terrifying movie as a kid that I found so loud, and there's so many people that die in that movie too.
I'm so glad I'm the other kid who saw that
Yeah,
theatrically.
because no one saw that movie. That famously failed at the box office.
I remember that day so well. I went with my dad. We had a boys' day. We went to McDonald's and we went to see Batman Mask of the Phantasm. And I liked it, but it was really sad,
Yes,
wasn't
it
it?
was,
And
yeah.
there were all these romance flashback things, and it ended sadly. I was perturbed by it a little bit.
I remember seeing it in a cavernously empty theater, which, yeah, that's how it pretty much did at the box office, and now it's known as a classic today.
Well, speaking of Batman,
I know, I was queuing you up there.
My first official choice is 1995's Batman Forever.
Now, I'm surprised by this and not Batman Returns, which you said has had a big impact on you as a kid.
Well, that movie terrified me.
Okay, so you didn't have like, oh, I love this and I want to go towards it.
After a few,
Yeah.
you know, I loved the first one with Jack Nicholson, and probably Tim Burton and Steven Spielberg were the first two filmmakers who I knew who they were. And then I knew that there was a new guy who directed this one called Joel Schumacher, because I read that in Disney Adventures
Of
magazine.
course. And it was probably like Jim Carrey's The Riddler on the cover, like back to back with, I don't know, Roger Rabbit or something like that.
There was 1 month that had Val Kilmer on the cover, then the next month had Jim Carrey on the cover, and it also had a lot of information in it about Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls coming up very soon. Was very excited about that.
I remember reading George Lucas saying, you know, I'll probably make another Star Wars film in like 5 to 7 years, and be like, that's so long from now.
Oh man, I remember him telling Leonard Maltin that in the little interview at the start of the VHS.
Sorry, I couldn't watch it because I was fast forwarding through it to get to Star Wars.
But Batman Forever, okay, to this day, there's never been a movie I looked forward to more. I loved it so much. It was such a great time in theaters. But definitely the first movie to really illustrate to me that there is such a thing as authorial presence. There is such a thing as authorial vision. The vision of that movie is so different. It has a foot in the Tim Burton world, but the reverence to the material is not there.
Yeah.
The color scheme, the music, the acting, the performance styles, very different. So that's an important lesson, that movies have directors, and directors are the guiding vision.
And I feel that, I've said this before, but Batman Forever, I remember seeing it in theaters and going, I don't like this. I should like this. Jim Carrey. I love Jim Carrey.
Wow.
But there was just something, like how much he was screeching throughout it. I didn't like how his head was all like deformed at the end of the movie.
I mean, definitely when I watch the movie now, which I do sometimes,
Yes.
his performance, you had to have been there. That's what I'll say.
Our friend Peter said, you can tell that the mic couldn't catch his voice, so his voice is clipping in the movie because he's screaming so loudly, which is very funny.
It's a performance that's only legible if you understand that in 1995, everyone thought he was so funny to the point where there was a mass delusion where he could do no wrong.
Yes.
And you put him a camera in front of him, he would do anything and they would find it funny.
Okay, so this, I don't feel like I've ever talked about this, but this is a very important part in my young cinephile life, where I had a friend in high school and we were having a boys' night. We're just going to get together. We're going to sit in his basement. We're going to watch movies. I went to Rogers Video in Ottawa while I was visiting my dad, and I rented a bunch of movies. I think I rented Conan the Barbarian. You can listen to our episode on John Milius if you want to hear us talk about that.
You were like, yes, strength,
Yeah,
power.
it'll be so much fun. And a little movie called Clerks.
Oh,
And I picked up
yes.
Clerks, but you know what? I'm not going to say Clerks. You know what I'm going to say really made me think differently about movies? I don't know why I did this. I had never done this before. I watched Clerks, and then we switched on the Clerks audio commentary. That same night, we watched Clerks, and then the Clerks audio commentary.
Oh, man.
And it's like, we've talked about Kevin Smith's we're
Too
gonna
much? Too much?
No, not enough, I would say. We will continue talking about him.
He's got a new movie coming out later this year. First in line, Fathom Events screening will be there. If he comes to town and does a Q&A,
He is.
should we see him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Let's say tickets are $100. Do we still go?
yeah, definitely.
let's do it.
Sorry, I'm writing it off on my taxes. Thank you very much.
I'm in if you're in.
Yep. I mean, our friend Mike Wood, he goes to all those Kevin Smith. He's seen like every time he's come to Toronto, he's gone. So
Yeah.
we'll always know there'll be somebody there.
Me, him, and our fellow hogs will be there lapping it up.
But Clerks, what is the magic of Clerks? We've discussed
Well,
this
it's
before.
because, I mean, if you're putting this on your list of movies that fundamentally change,
Yes.
part of it is the fact that it's like a genuine, like homemade, like it's a movie that hints at a democratic potential of the medium. Like this guy who came from nothing, from nowhere, had no connections to the industry, maxed out his credit cards and made a movie that was about his own personal experience, was set at the store with the friends, and, was not technically polished either. And he sold it to Hollywood entirely on those terms.
But I don't know if I knew all that information when I was watching Clerks.
But okay, you heard the commentary and you heard these
Afterwards,
really
yeah.
affable guys.
Yeah.
And you were like, these guys
Oh.
sound like me and my friends.
Yeah.
They're not Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg is unapproachable. That like, if you watch an interview with him, it's so polished. You hear the same stories every time, except on the 1941 documentary. Now that's good Steven Spielberg interviews on that. Because he's like, I failed. It didn't work.
I gotta watch that.
It's like 2 hours long. It's John Milius, Robert Zemeckis, Bob Gale, Steven Spielberg talking about a movie that most of them love, but they also admit it didn't really work.
Is this on the Blu-ray?
It is on the Blu-ray. There's a great section all about the deleted climax that Chuck Jones is the storyboards for.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna buy this
Right now.
instantly. Yeah.
But yeah, Clerks opened up a world of cinema as something that is more approachable, and from there's no looking back after that. I mean, sorry, I meant Jim Jarmusch's Strangers in Paradise. That's really the one that made me understand cinema as a democratic process.
Yes,
et cetera,
thank
et cetera.
you. Thank you.
What else you got?
Well, as a kid, I liked, I guess I developed a sort of early interest in like psychotronic cinema, cult cinema. I liked the cult section at the video store, the little cult section that you could get. Like, I didn't watch the Troma movie, but it was very hard to get out of a headspace, I think, of like, so bad it's good. And man, if I could recapture the feeling of going to see Godzilla 2000 in a movie theater at the, oh God, whatever, it was by Sherway Gardens. I'm just Proustian mandolins all over. That's another movie I was so excited to see because and seeing it in the theater in the year 2000 when special effects had advanced so much, but it was still a man in a rubber suit. There was a sort of realization watching it that like, oh, they know it looks like this. Mm-hmm. It's not so bad. It's good. It's the rubbery texture, the beauty of these model cityscapes. That's its own aesthetic. That's its own style. And I think that unlocked a whole new way of appreciating movies. Opened my heart to different kinds of tones and textures.
So when take a step back, why are you going to see Godzilla 2000?
Because Godzilla movies, look, who doesn't like
MST3K.
I think I discovered MST3K the same summer.
Okay.
But what I knew about Godzilla movies was it was a man in a rubber suit, and that's funny.
Okay. So
And-
you were going to laugh.
Yes, and I'm not happy about that.
Yeah.
Now, if I was being honest with myself, I think going to see Godzilla 2000 unlocked something because I loved those movies.
Yeah.
I watched them. I was entertained by them, but something in my head was like, oh, but it's the special effects are cheesy. I didn't understand. And eventually I did, really through watching that movie, that it's not cheesy, or it's not just cheesy, or it's like, it's a beautiful texture of its own. And that can open your mind, that realization can open your mind and heart to realizing that like, there are different aesthetics, it's not not everything has to conform to like one style of like Hollywood realism. There can be different kinds of beauty. And I wish I could tell you that I got that from an Antonioni movie.
Yeah. Watching Red Desert, you're like, he cut out all of them leaving and entering rooms. It really brought it to me.
And listen, I'll tell you, hearing David Bordwell talk about the editing style of Robert Bresson, also very important, but not quite as important.
Yeah.
As seeing Godzilla 2000.
So you talking about this unlock something that I just added it to my list because I know exactly the moment where cinema as a participatory experience was revealed to me. That I went, oh, wow, this is what movies can be. It was at what I would say was my movie mecca for a decade, which was a Fantasia Film Festival in Montreal, which was what I looked forward to the most every year, which it's like 2 or 3 weeks of nonstop movies. I have not been in a decade. Ever since I sent my own films there, they were routinely denied with form letters, to which I go, all right.
So next one you'll be in.
No, I'm not submitting to them again.
Oh, yeah, wow.
I've been burned so many times. But yeah, I would be so excited to go to that. And I don't know how I convinced my dad to drive up from Ottawa to Montreal, but we did, and we went to go see a movie called Undead by the Spierig Brothers, which is just a zombie film, Australian. It's fine, it's okay, but man, that crowd, we were cheering, we were applauding. At one point, the entire audience jumped to their feet, including my dad, just applauding and like, woo! And like that experience burned itself in my mind. That's a high I've been chasing since then of like, I need that kind of like, everyone is with the movie, they're involved with it, and they're, communicating it with it audibly, but in a way that the movie is meant to be communicated with.
If I can tell you a movie going experience that I had that I wish I could bottle, I wish I could have that all the time. It was seeing Ong Bak.
At Midnight Madness
with Tony Jaa. No, not at Midnight Madness. I saw it at the Rainbow Woodbine Theater in Rexdale.
Oh, well, so Tony Jaa wasn't there in person.
No.
Okay.
I just saw it opening weekend in Rexdale in the northern part of Toronto at Woodbine Mall, which, real ones know Woodbine Mall. Mm-hmm. Packed crowd, and it was like watching it with the best Grindhouse audience possible. Like every great move, everyone went, oh! People were cheering along. I don't know. I left it walking on a cloud. I wish I could have that experience every time.
But yeah, the Spierig Brothers, Undead, a high I've been chasing ever since, which is very funny because I'm sure the programmers were like, it was just like any other screening. But then there was like a 15-year-old boy that was there being like, woo!
The thing is, we're always finding new kinds of highs. Like when we went to see the Three Stooges in Orbit at the drive-in.
And we were dying laughing like we couldn't take it.
How lame it was, yeah. So, okay, here's one.
Is Three Stooges in Orbit on your list as well?
Yeah. It's like I couldn't believe guys could be that old in a movie.
I thought it'd be illegal. They wouldn't allow them up on screen.
Yeah. So Citizen Kane, you heard of this one?
Oh, yep.
And I wouldn't say...
Oh, I got that 2-disc DVD set that was put out.
Yeah, Roger Ebert commentary.
I got it for Christmas. It was one of the DVDs I asked for.
Me too.
Yeah.
I also got it for Christmas. About 6 months earlier, I'd rented it from the library on VHS. And I rented it, little precocious 12-year-old film buff, knowing that this is the supposedly the best movie ever made. I was actually, in a weird way, afraid to watch it because I thought, what if I don't like it?
I know. We're going to have to take away your adult card,
I
Will.
know. Anyway, couldn't believe how entertaining it was.
Yeah, here's the thing about Citizen Kane. If you sit down and watch... When I watch it, I was like, this rules.
Well, I actually have very strong memories of that first viewing because I remember the opening newsreel scene, watching it and thinking, oh, wow, they're saying the whole plot before the movie. And then we're going to learn... I remember thinking that kind of blew my mind. And, the flashback structure. Anyway, Citizen Kane. Mm-hmm. But I realize also this belongs on the list because it's kind of, in so many ways, ground zero of my cinephilia. It's like questions of authorship, questions of the industrial conditions, questions of being an artist in the Hollywood system, the context that creates a film, what everyone involved in a movie does. Listening to that Roger Ebert commentary or reading any of the things made about it, you learn what the editor does, what the cinematographer does, what the screenwriters do.
You mean the real author of Citizen Kane?
Well, these are rabbit holes that one does fall down, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then just what Orson Welles represented. Nobody has ever represented that more than him, mm-hmm. The artist against the system.
Well, so I'm going to return to the Fantasia Film Festival again because, man, after that Undead year, wow, we're going back again. I picked another night. Me and my dad and my brother are going to go see movies. They hated the movies that were playing that night. One of them was a little film called Dead Leaves, directed by Hiroyuki Imaishi. It's an anime film. It's 55 minutes long, and it had everything that I wanted in an animated film, just like very crude, very stylized, really out there, basically one long action scene. And I could feel a lot of the room just hated this experience, but I was liking it. And so it was like, oh, wow, I can like something that other people don't like, and that it's very kind of stylized in that way. And I always think about that movie when I think about like, oh, okay, so aesthetically, each individual will not have the same taste as, you hope that everybody's on the same page, which was the previous experience at the Fantasia Film Festival. So, and like anime like that, I never really got into anime because it's too much of a daunting thing of like, I don't have time to watch 150 episodes of one thing, but just like in that hour-long format, just seeing just like, oh, it's so in your face. Yeah, that stayed with me. Dead Leaves.
The feeling of seeing something and having it be like a portal into another world, like there's a whole, like, this isn't necessarily on my list, but I'm going to see Doom 2, the Bollywood blockbuster, in a theater. I saw it at the Albion Theater. Okay, I'm putting this on my list now.
It's on the list
Who
now.
cares? It doesn't have to be 5. So Doom 2, I remember being at the Albion Mall, which is another North Etobicoke mall, and they have a whole Bollywood movie theater there where they just showed Indian stuff. And I remember like seeing that movie theater and seeing the posters for these Indian movies. It's like, I don't know what this is. Like, what is this?
Why Doom 2?
What's this portal? Well, so I'd gone to see Doom Machale.
Yeah.
I'd been to see a couple of Indian movies like that year, and I was a little bit baffled by them, but I was interested. And I went with a friend, and that just happened to be the one that was playing.
Okay.
It was just, that was
Wow,
it.
it could have been anything.
Could have been anything. And we went to see that. And I'm sure that there are, like, we have listeners who really know Indian film who are hearing Doom 2, and it's like, that's the butter chicken of Indian films.
Yeah.
But hey, what can I tell you? I couldn't believe it. I thought it was so fun, so cool. But just, if this one's going on the list, it's really just because it's that exciting experience of like finding a movie from another culture, from another country, and having it be just a portal into a whole other like ecosystem. I love that feeling. I'm always chasing that feeling.
So people that know me may think that I've had refined taste my entire life, as the movies we've been discussing. But there was a period I was not into shot-on-video movies, or like the lowest of the low-budget movies. And I don't know if this is the one that unlocked it. I'm trying to think of like, what is the one that I was like, okay, I'm in now? Like,
well, for a long time, I mean, there does come a period between something being like dated and something being vintage.
But like, I watch The Evil Dead. I love The Evil Dead. I want all my horror films to be in that style,
right?
Or like that kind of either propulsiveness or understanding of the grammar of cinema. But here's the thing, no one can do that, even if they love The Evil Dead.
Sorry to digress, but what about like J-horror and stuff like that?
I never really got into J-horror that much. Like, I can get into the more, out there stuff of like Takashi Miike, but I was never someone who was like a Ringu obsessive or anything like that. So
Or like, I don't know why I'm digressing so much, but like, what about like if I showed you Bride of Frankenstein at that age?
I would probably love Bride of Frankenstein and those monster movies. Even though I did watch Frankenstein versus the Wolfman probably at 6 a.m. And like every kid who saw that movie, I was like, what the hell is this? They barely fight.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. I hate to break it to people, but that's the reality of that movie. But there's a little film that I just stumbled upon on a floor of Fan Expo that year. The people at the booth.
I know what it is.
You know what it is. They like a siren song. They were all there, and they're like, "Hey, buy our DVD, come on!" And I was supposed to go that night to see that movie with my friend. He ditched me, and I ended up going by myself. The little film called Things, directed by Andrew Jordan and Barry J. Gillis.
Things was shot in Scarborough, which is a suburb of Toronto. It is, imagine if Bob and Doug McKenzie from SCTV made a horror movie. And it's another one that I think really blurs the distinction between good and bad. And it's a beautiful movie in a way. It looks like a David Lynch like web film.
That's exactly what it looks like. And I remember sitting there in that audience being like, I love this. Like, they were making fun of it as it was playing, but like it went beyond that into almost a level of obsession. Like, I'm trying to think of like, are there movies that I got obsessed with when I was a teenager that weren't just, the normal stuff, like Evil Dead, you go through a Robert Rodriguez phase, Quentin Tarantino, like that's all normal stuff. But Things was like one that like I fell into, and I only fall deeper into it. Like, nothing has been like, I'm tired of Things, I don't want to talk about Things anymore. I'm like, yeah, Things, let's do it. Like, we did our screening of it.
We had such a great experience showing Things at the Fox Theater just last fall, and 2 of the guys from the movie came.
Randomly, yeah.
And they had a great time. I mean, the guy who played Dr. Lucas, he came in almost a little bashful, like, oh, it's a bad movie. But I don't know. That's another screening I'd love to bottle the atmosphere, because everybody was laughing, but like in the right way. In the right way. It's like, this is great.
And that's the thing about Things is that it's never been a movie that I'm like, oh, look how bad they are at how they made it. Like, that's what I love about it. It's like different. Like it's elevated
fun.
beyond
it's like,
that.
It's like a bunch of friends making a goofy horror movie. And I think a lot of it, I think there are parts of it that are funny on purpose too, you know?
And I wonder, like, if then it's more websites like Bleeding Skull and stuff like that are the entryway into an appreciation of those movies. Because then you move beyond from Cold Fusion Video and Stomp Tokyo, which are like, bah, these movies suck, into like, oh no, like Bleeding Skull, like they genuinely want to take these movies on the level that they were made.
Yeah.
And that's like another portal into those kind of things.
I do think that, you know, when we were growing up, a lot of TV shows looked like that. They were shot on video. I mean, maybe Things was shot on 8mm, but
it was shot on 8mm.
But it was transferred to video.
Yeah.
And it looks very video-y. But now, I mean, now that it's not that way anymore, it's much easier to appreciate and find beauty in the what were then the technical imperfections of digital video. There are also filmmakers who have made like really interesting use of it, like Bill Gunn with Personal Problems and Michael Bilandic with Happy Life, and Barry J. Gillis with Things.
Yeah, of
obviously.
course.
How could I forget? So yeah, no, that's a very great pick.
What else you got?
Well, I had definitely like a long period in my life of having different little epiphanies about the kind of pace that a movie could have, the sort of way that a movie could use, for want of a better word, boredom, but often not boredom, but just like be paced differently than a Hollywood movie. And I'm using that term lazily, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A movie where like every scene didn't have to be moving and it could digress and there could be just like beauty for the sake of beauty. Well, I mean, I think about, and I'm going to build up to one particular choice here, but like
some people may say it's a number one choice, if you will.
maybe even the greatest movie of all time. Yeah. I don't know. But like, I remember when I was 12 or 13, I rented Werner Herzog's Nosferatu on DVD. And I thought, what the hell is this? Like,
boring.
It's like 10 minutes of him like just walking. I can't believe it. Which is funny because you watch that movie, it's not boring at all.
No, it's fine.
But I'd never seen anything that slow.
Yeah.
And then I think I read the Roger Ebert review and it sort of explained it to me. Or like, I remember seeing The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in high school and loving it. And also thinking like, I can't believe how drawn out some of these scenes are.
You know, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, there's that weird magical element to it, right? That like, everyone who's seen it, if they're on its level, like close to it, they'll love it. Even though they've not loved anything like that beyond. Why is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, like, it has that draw in that way?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish I could answer that, but I do know that.
Because, like, it works. That's undeniable. Like,
yeah, like, it's firing on all cylinders. I think the texture of it is just incredible. And, like, when they're in the cemetery at the end, the mix of, like, what they look like, how they're filmed, and the music.
And it's just like mythological. Like it's iconic. And when you watch that, you realize that instantly.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not a movie that you're like, oh, I guess I need to like it because it's like a classic film. It's like you watch it and you are taken in by its power.
I just remember watching that at 17 and 18 thinking, fuck, I wish this was an hour longer. I want to stay in some of these shots even longer.
Well, there's an extended version that I would not recommend that exists on Blu-ray and DVD.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yep.
But Jean Dielman, I remember seeing that. This is my pick, by the way.
Yeah.
The greatest movie of all time.
Oh, number one. Whoa, Paul Schrader's on the line, and he has some stuff to say about this pick.
I hear in 10 years it's actually going to be Things. But
man, I wish. No. Matt Farley and Charlie Roxburgh.
We're making it happen.
Towards them. Yeah, wait, which one of their movies can be number one?
So
Local Legends is not a Charlie Roxburgh movie, though.
I think we could make Magic Spot happen.
Magic Spot, really?
Yeah, because it's sweet, because it coalesces all their themes, you know? Maybe that's River Beast.
Yeah, it's River Beast.
It's just because it's the most crowd-pleasing
Jean
one.
Dielman, don't let the River Beast get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I
like how you said, like, movies, they don't need to move at a particular pace. You mean like no pace? Like just...
Well, actually, so I saw Jean Dielman again about a year ago. And so the first time I saw it when I was 20, I think, and they played it at Cinematheque Ontario with a very elderly audience. I remember like by the time day 3 starts, and I'm assuming everyone listening knows what Jean Dielman is. By the time day 3 starts, I remember thinking, oh my God, I can't believe we're going to see her do all those things again. And I remember liking that feeling. It's like, like being in that headspace, feeling that frustration was incredible. But then watching it again a year ago, I was kind of surprised. It actually does have a pace. Like it has a rhythm. And then halfway through, when she overcooks the potatoes and the energy shifts in the room and she starts like mashing the new potatoes, but with like a really bad energy, like you feel it in the room. And everything past that, like, I don't know, For years, I said it's a movie that sculpts in boredom, and it sort of does. But I didn't find it boring last time. Something else, when you adjust to it, it's moving at a pace.
Now, can you consider that most of the people that saw that movie when you were 20 are probably dead now?
I mean, what was great was when I saw it a year ago, the audience was mostly Zoomers.
Wow.
Zoomers and millennials, people my age or younger.
They were on their TikTok. My age or younger.
Yeah.
That's a big gap of people.
Yeah, I'm 35, which, and can I just say,
35.
10 years ago, I would have, if I was 35 10 years ago, I would have been on the young side of most rep theaters.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I mean, seeing Jean Diamond, I do think a movie like that, for certain audiences, for certain young audiences, does have a new power. The idea of seeing it theatrically and, like, you know, being away from your phone, your TikTok, your Twitter, your Instagram. Probably not Twitter. That's the domain of 35-year-olds.
Yeah, you didn't say Facebook either, so.
MySpace.
Yeah, exactly.
Cross Country Canada.
Cross Country Canada.
You remember the CD-ROM game that we used to play at school? You didn't play that?
Yeah, which was basically like
You'd just be a truck.
Yes, and you're driving.
Speaking of slow cinema, that's Marguerite Duras right there.
Right. Wait, isn't it that in this game, if you sped up, like flies would hit the thing?
Oh, I don't think you could speed up.
And you could get out of the car as well.
It's the Brown Bunny for Super NES.
Oh man, all those computers that the mouse would be like built into the keyboard so you couldn't steal it. Anyway, speaking of nostalgia,
Do you have anyone left?
you know what? I don't really, because I the issue with the other stuff is like, listen, I've talked about Iron Monkey. You've heard me talk about it. Then when I discovered it, because it was being released by Quentin Tarantino and like a new version in theaters, that I found it online in a VCD quality, and I was like, "Wow, what is this? I can just watch it like this." Struggling to burn DVDs myself so I could bring it to my friend's house and show it to them.
Oh man, to say nothing of me going to Chinatown and discovering like the 4 bootleg DVDs for $20, which would eventually become like 8 for $20.
Yep, that's right.
Watching Police Story, Chungking Express, Hard Boiled,
Or going to see Peter Hyams, The Musketeer, and there being a ladder fight at the end, and my friend going, "There's a ladder fight in another movie that I saw called Once Upon a Time in China. Why don't we go rent that movie and we can watch it?" And I was like, "What is this?"
Now I'm thinking of all the afternoons I spent at the Anthology Film Archives discovering Brakhage and Kuchar's. And,
Sorry, I'm rolling my eyes. Yeah,
you don't like that?
Andy Warhol.
discovering all the different shapes a movie can be.
Mm-hmm. Me sitting down watching Satan Tango in its entirety. Taking it all in.
I'm so ashamed to say I split that one over 2 nights.
What? You did?
One day when Satan Tango plays again in town,
They split it though when they play it. That they do like
there are
half of it.
2 intermissions and 2 intermissions and a lunch break. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we could go on forever, but we might as well wrap it up.
Yep, people will hear about us talk about these movies as the years go on, when they become the only stories we can tell over and over again. I still have that Citizen Kane DVD, I think.
I have it somewhere too.
With like the cheap paper sleeve that it was in, that like it split the second that I opened it up.
Warner Brothers 2-disc special editions.
That's right. You know what's on that second disc? The made-for-TV Liv Schreiber starring.
Oh, so the one I had the Battle Over Citizen Kane, the documentary.
Yeah, oh,
but there was another version that had RKO.
That's the one
it was
that I
called.
have, yeah.
Wow, yeah. Not very good.
No, not very good.
Neither of those movies are good.
Nope. So, as per usual, you can send us letters at importantcinemaclubpodcast@gmail.com. Our first letter is, "Don't let the river beasts grade you."
Okay.
Hi, ICC. I'm writing to you having been listening to every episode since the first. I'm currently archive 377 with 44 left until I'm caught up to the present. I'm not sure how long this has taken me, but I assure you that it's taken me a concerningly short amount of time. Thank you for a great podcast, and most specifically for introducing me to Matt Farley's films, as you have for many. I am a visiting assistant professor at a small women's college, where I teach 20th and 21st century literature, film, and related topics. Visiting is a fancy way of saying that I'm a temp contract employee, so every year has a chance of being my last in academia. This fall, I'm teaching horror film, a class that is hilariously over-enrolled. I had to kick over 40 students out. Of course, knowing academia, the popularity of my course will have little bearing on my future employment prospects. I am still working on the syllabus, but one film I plan to teach no matter what is Don't Let the River Beast Get You. I want to teach it for a number of reasons. It's great, it's unique, it's a tonal variation from a lot of the other films we'll be watching, and most importantly, I think it captures how the horror genre has been one in which emerging filmmakers have been relatively successful in producing personal auteurist films in an era largely dominated by franchises and IP. I'm imagining, however, that a lot of students won't know what to do with River Beast and will think that it's obviously bad. I want to do my best to provide the proper context and framing so that the students can understand what's so brilliant about the film. Or at least have the best possible shot of doing so. I wonder, as fans, scholars, and archivists of motion media films, what you think would be the most important for a young horror fan who probably has limited experience with film criticism, academic or popular, to understand about motion media and River Beast specifically. If you were presenting the film to a group of young liberal arts students, which I'm sure me and Will do, of course, when we
teach our class on moturnism,
what would you want them to know? Thank you, and I look forward to hopefully hearing this email read in however long it takes me to get through the next several dozen episodes. Best, Devin.
So I have two things that come to mind.
Okay, yeah.
First, I would say it's a movie that speaks to the democratic possibility of movie making right now.
Yeah.
You know, with digital video and with online platforms. And the second thing I would say is, if I were talking to kids, I'd say, did you ever make backyard movies with your parents, with your uncles and aunts, with your siblings, and have them recruit them to play roles? And did you ever make horror movies like that? Well, what if you grew up, you went to college, you came back, and you still made those movies with the same people? That's kind of the joke.
I would put it in a historical context of what this is a kind of child of. That in the 80s and 90s, with the birth of home video, everybody was making horror films. These would be all over the shelves. They would share the same space with like The Omen or The Exorcist. You would have these like backyard, low budget movies. And because of that, what these filmmakers that made Don't Let the River Beast Get You love so much are the little things that would come out, the non-performers, the overly verbose dialogue, the complicated plots. And knowing that, watch the movie with that in mind, that they know what they're doing. I think that's probably the most important thing when you talk about Moturn is like they know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And that like once you know that and you're taking it in a class kind of context, you can pass the Rubicon of the period that everybody goes through when they first see a Moturn film and they go, is this bad on purpose? What are they doing?
And also, like, what if movies were for everyone?
Yeah.
What if anyone could be a movie star? And what if that's like, and not in a Tim and Eric way, not in an Andy Warhol way. What if it's like, wouldn't it be cool if my uncle starred in a movie?
I would say that, and I would also say, but watch this movie and pay very careful attention at how carefully constructed that it is. Like, especially the plot of Don't Let the River Beast Get You. There are like 10 spinning plot lines going on at once that all come together by the end of the movie and don't feel superfluous to each other.
Yeah.
And prepare them for the greatest final gag of any movie they've ever seen.
No, don't prepare them. Just let that happen.
And I hope that it goes over very well. And listen, they're used to irony, those Zoomers out there on their TikToks and things like that.
Yeah.
So
tell them to put their damn phones down.
So thank you again very much for that letter. And our next one's from Cole. And he goes, hey, Justin and Will, still enjoying the show very much, and I've been a consistent listener since 2020. Thank you for making more episodes on mainstream filmmakers lately. What? Mainstream filmmakers? I know you guys always say that you would have nothing new to add to the conversations on these directors and actors, but I've never found that to be the case since your takes come from skeptical and seasoned perspectives that are much more authentic than the many clickbait sources of info on these directors that you can find elsewhere online. Where do people go other than like social media for like takes on films? Letterboxd, I guess?
I guess
because there's no
Letterboxd,
websites anymore.
IMDb.
IMDb. Yeah, I guess there's reviews there.
I don't know.
But I don't trust anyone who writes reviews on IMDb. Mm-hmm. Who are those sickos out there? Have you ever written reviews on IMDb at some point in your life?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did either.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because we go like, oh, it has a good score on IMDb. Who are these people rating this? It's not me. It's not you.
No, it's people who were 15-year-olds 20 years ago. That's why Fight Club is always like number one.
Shawshank Redemption, Fight Club,
Yeah.
The Dark Knight. And the letter writer asks, Will, do you... Sorry, I just laughed reading Will, do you think that cinema is dying in 2024? Or do you think the latest output of mainstream films have found their spark again?
Oh, wow, that's a big question. Well, you
you
can chime in on this if you want.
Is there perhaps an essay about the deaths of cinema that you will write that people can read on your blog?
Listen, cinema, or at least moving images, will continue. There will always be some kind of theatrical exhibition. It certainly does seem, maybe because of the pandemic, probably because of a lot of factors, a lot of us want to go out to the movies less. Like Bad Boys for Life is out this weekend. I saw the last Bad Boys. Is it Bad Boys for Life? What's it called? No, it's Bad Boys Ride or
It's
Die.
very confusing because the third one is called Bad Boys for Life.
It should have been Bad Boys for Life.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that one I saw theatrically. This new one, that feels like a Netflix movie to me.
You're old.
I'm
though.
used to.
That's
yeah,
the
I'm
issue.
also I'm 5 years older or whatever. Yeah.
And that you don't want to see Bad Boys 4. After
No.
Bad Boys 2, you're curious. You want to see what these old guys up on screen will do.
I was going to see the Powell and Pressburger retrospective at the Lightbox, and
You look around and you're the old man now in the theater.
yes,
Yeah.
again, I think it's because TIFF is giving out free memberships to students,
Oh, is that what's? Oh,
Yes.
yeah, and you get free tickets.
and I can tell
the
you.
bane of your existence. You hate those.
Well, look, I think they must know what they're doing because those screenings are sold out, and it's again people my age or younger going to see fucking Tales of Hoffman. I can't believe it.
Great movie.
and I think that's fantastic, and I think it's great that that's happening. There's an appetite for that sort of thing. I don't know. It's interesting that Anyone But You, a lot of people went to see that, but that was kind of like a nostalgic exercise, wasn't it?
Not really.
Don't
Because it was
you
a
think-
romantic comedy, but I think it's just people want movies like that in the theater.
Yeah, and everybody kind of understood it wasn't very good.
Yeah, I guess.
Don't you think? But everybody
They made so much money, though.
But everybody was going to it kind of like, boy, wouldn't it be nice if there was this kind of movie and it had young stars in it? I don't know. The planets were
Not like
aligned.
George Clooney and Julia Roberts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was the first one of those like nostalgic enterprises that hit because of that.
I'm saying it. Theaters are going to come back because people, you have everything at your fingertips. You don't want to watch it like that. You want to go to a theater and you want to do something different.
What about cinema, though, the art form? Do you think it's dying?
No. I don't
Yeah.
think it's dying.
Yeah.
It's more democratic than it's ever been, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. It's interesting, though. It feels like a bit of a transitional moment because, like, the Disney model, the Marvel,
It's dying.
Yeah, the Marvel Star Wars model isn't working anymore. What's going to replace it?
It was so surreal that Emily was like, "Oh, have you watched the new Acolyte TV show, Star Wars?" I was like, "I haven't watched the last 4 Star Wars and I had to say 4 Star Wars TV shows. That's bananas. Why is there 4 Star Wars TV shows that I haven't watched?
We seem to be re-entering a period where like 10 movies don't make $1 billion every year anymore.
Yeah.
It's like one movie makes $1 billion, and then there are a lot of movies that are sort of like Anyone But You.
And you know what? Studio executives, that just makes you as much money as well too. But that's not what they want. They want Pirates of the Caribbean for $1 billion. Do you know that movie made $1 billion?
Really?
Yes.
God.
It was a massive hit.
It's a different time.
Now we don't have that anymore.
So yeah, I'm currently thinking that cinema's in transition. Certain things are dying.
Also, what are your guys' thoughts on the current development updates on Tarantino's last and supposed final film? And if you think he's actually going to stop at 10 movies? He's not going to stop at 10 movies.
Well, he might.
If he dies.
He seems pretty adamant about it. I don't know. He'll probably do a TV show or something. He'll find like a workaround.
Yeah, he found loopholes. He's already talked about that. I'm sad that he's not going to be doing his movie about a critic.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what I think about it. I think he's a little ridiculous.
Yes.
This like, ooh, 10 movies and they all have to be perfect. Like, buddy.
What are you, Sergio Leone? Get out of here.
Sorry, they're not all perfect.
No, they're not.
Okay.
We've talked about this before, but are you sad that he's not doing his critic movie?
Yeah, kind of. I was looking forward to it. I just don't understand how somebody who likes exploitation movies as much as he does, loves old studio journeyman directors like Don Siegel and Phil Carlson as much as he does. Why doesn't he want to emulate a bit of that?
Yeah, just continually pump them out.
Why does he want to be Stanley Kubrick? He doesn't seem to like Stanley Kubrick a lot.
Oh, I don't get it. I just wish if he turned around, he's like, all right, I'm making 2 movies a year. I'd be like, yeah, here we go. But he can't. He's not in that mode. He never has been able to.
Well,
be
he
in that
always
mode.
says he wants everyone, if you're just some kid in the future reaching into the big bag of his movies, he wants anyone they pick out to be great.
He's already failed. We already talked about this.
He's already failed, and it's like the example he would always use is you don't want to reach into the Howard Hawks bag and just pick out Land of the Pharaohs and have that be the first one. And to that I say, Howard Hawks' reputation is fine. Yeah. Everyone.
No one is watching Land of the Pharaohs first and dismissing Howard Hawks from that basis.
Nobody's that stupid. Nobody watches that and then says, well, I'll never watch Bringing Up Baby.
Yeah, then they're an idiot. They don't deserve. But I have a few critics at the Cage Cinema who would say a little bit differently about Land of the Pharaohs.
I've been meaning to revisit that one, actually.
I have that Warner Archive Blu-ray. I'm like, why did I buy this?
With the
Other than looking at-
Bogdanovich commentary?
Oh, does it?
Well,
Wow.
there was
Yeah,
a
someone
release that
commentary,
had
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, Tarantino, come on. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much for that letter. And our next one, high school film class. Man, we're doing a lot of teaching this
High school
episode.
film class.
Hello, Justin and Will. So I'm about to end my second year as a high school teacher, and I just found out that I'll be teaching an intro to film class after the summer. I have a million ideas swirling through my head. Okay, number one, the kids aren't going to care about it.
No.
I'm sorry. But I'm glad you have a lot of ideas. But he wants our guidance for my two favorite podcast hosts. I don't want it to be a simple blow-off class. All right, so you got to watch Fly Away Home. What are the classic, like, that you would see them in class all the time?
Oh, Shrek. I saw Shrek a lot.
Why Shrek?
Not for any pedagogical reason, but no, I saw it because it was Shrek. When I was in middle school, was a classic. Like, well, there are still a few days left, and we've run out of things to teach, so
Yeah.
put on Shrek. Or, well,
Shrek 2.
French teacher's away. Let's put on Shrek in French. You know, I've seen Shrek in French.
Shrek.
I saw Shrek
Donkey.
so many times between like 2001 and 2003.
And if you want our thoughts on Shrek, a very controversial episode that people.
Episode number 300 was it?
300, yeah, that's right.
So yeah, is he asking what we would put on?
Yeah,
Syllabus?
well, the letter continues. I also want to create an accessible introduction to film that will hopefully turn some of the students down a path of cinephilia without dropping them into the deep end. This means I won't be showing them The Blind Side like my predecessor.
Jesus,
But I've never seen The Blind Side.
it's awful.
Yeah, I will never see it. Why did you watch it?
Oh, you know,
Why?
I watched it on Michael and Us.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay. I thought maybe you were like on your second string film critic.
yeah, I think I did for that too as well a long time ago.
But I also don't think they're ready for Memories of Underdevelopment. No, I would not show them that one. In your opinion, what would be the ideal structure for a film? Wow, we're doing a lot of work here. For a high school film class, and what movies would you put on the syllabus? They're all 12th graders, 17 to 18-year-old, so I'm not terribly worried about MPAA ratings. All right, Vampire Lesbos, Jess Franco. Get them in right there.
Well, what about somebody like Martin Scorsese then? Is
Yeah.
that too extreme though?
No, that's not too extreme.
Like Goodfellas. Maybe something could be done with James Cameron. This feels a little condescending
it
though.
feels like they've seen. Okay, let's
What
challenge
are
them a
what
little
are
bit.
classics?
Citizen Kane?
Yeah, Citizen Kane. A lot of them aren't going to like it,
No,
but that's a rite of passage.
yeah. Try to explain. Like, just give them the context, like, to enjoy it.
What about Buster Keaton?
Yeah, the general.
The general. Well, the Confederate stuff. Don't show the general, but show some of his short films.
Okay.
Show the Goat.
Yeah.
Okay, the aptly named.
Wait,
the
he didn't
Goat.
say what state he's in, or if he's even in America. Maybe they're all about Confederate stuff.
I think if you show the kids the Goat, they won't believe it.
The goat?
Yeah, that's what it's called. Like the animal.
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't think I've seen that short.
Oh, it's so great. It's got so. You should watch Buster Keaton's The Goat. It's incredible.
Yeah, so shorts are good. Like, you could do a whole class on, like, silent film shorts.
Mm-hmm.
They're very physical. They can understand them. A whole day dedicated to the Three Stooges, of course.
Oh well, sure.
Have Rocket Will Travel. Oh, yeah, so Citizen Kane, that's easy. But, like, those movies, though, when you show them to kids, like, if you're telling them, we're watching Citizen Kane, they're going to be like, no.
So the thing about experimental film, like.
No!
But wait a minute.
All right,
something
where are you going
like
with
something like Stan Brakhage, something like the Kuchar brothers. I think there's a way to communicate to kids. First of all, it's really short, so it's not much of a time commitment. Like if you show the kids Mothlight or something like that and communicate, can you believe he did this? Can you believe like how radical it was that he said this can be a movie? I think there may be something to communicate there. I think somebody might be able to get on that wavelength. And if nothing else, the kids will remember Mothlight, and and years from now they'll be like, I can't believe this movie that I saw, Mothlight. You wouldn't believe this thing that this guy thought was a movie. I mean, that is a seed that gets planted.
Oh, yeah, so like an experimental film day. You show a bunch of experimental films. Or do you shake it up a little bit? Show an experimental film, show some Buster Keaton. I don't know how you could teach a class like that. Like,
What about Singing in the Rain?
yeah, that's a classic. They've probably seen it. That may get eye rolls.
They might not have seen it.
Yeah, that may get eye rolls, though, of like, Singing in the Rain. Even, like, if they haven't seen it, they know what it is. What is, like...
What about Wong Kar-wai then?
Yeah, that... Which one would you show? Chungking Express?
Yeah, maybe Chungking Express. Mm-hmm. That's pretty dynamic.
What about something like 42nd Street? With that Busby Berkeley choreography?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
thinking
not
of, like,
bad.
musicals.
There's in the Busby Berkeley movies, there's a lot of scenes with actors that you kind of got to get through.
Yeah, that's true. But
I'm putting my head. I'm being so condescending to the teenage audience, aren't I? But listen, I was in those classes once.
I was bored!
I was there.
You're like, I wish it was Shrek.
I wasn't like
I
that.
don't think I watched one classic film in high school. Did you?
I remember once a teacher put on The Gold Rush by Chaplin.
Wow, okay.
It played better than you might think. Yeah, some people thought it was funny.
All right, so we have some ideas there, like Wong Kar-wai.
Would they like the Marx Brothers?
No. They would
You
not.
know,
No.
okay.
I feel that would feel too old to them. But if you show like Buster Keaton, they can get into that.
Buster Keaton's really timeless.
Yeah.
And it's also, it'll play with their expectations because they wouldn't expect something that old to be that like dynamic and experimental.
You all you got to do is like, this was our generation's Jackie Chan. By our generation, I mean like I was alive in the 20s.
And they'll be like, who's Jackie Chan? What's
they know
Rush Hour?
Jackie Chan. They love
Don.
Right On. Yeah. And what was the Indian co-production that he did?
Oh, Kung Fu Yoga.
Kung Fu Yoga. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may be like, who's Jackie Chan? Who are the kids, like the stars of kids these days?
Oh,
Like in high school, 12th grade.
like movie star. Well, it's probably like, I don't know, Dua Lipa. Like, who's famous now?
Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet. They know him.
Yeah.
Oh, Play a Rainy Day in New York.
Helen movie. Could a teacher get away with showing like Annie Hall?
I wouldn't try it.
No, I wouldn't try it either.
Show Annie Hall and then do a diagram of what the attic looked like, and you see the train set was here, and it's not possible. It's a great question because I'm really trying to put my head in the headspace of like what would excite someone, you know?
Listen up, Philip.
No.
Yeah, do it. Alex Ross Perry.
What about Enter the Dragon? Too old? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't think that would go over very well. What is, like if you're going to show them like a Hong Kong movie, to show them Chinese Ghost Story.
Oh.
I feel like they'd be like, I haven't seen anything like this
that's
before.
interesting.
Yeah.
And some of them might react to it violently.
Violently?
Just because it's so weird.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but here's the thing. If I sound condescending, it's because I'm remembering my own high school experience. Maybe kids today are different.
Could a teacher
They have TikTok.
Could get away with showing someone like hard boiled or something like that?
Too violent.
Too violent.
I
yeah.
think so. Even now.
Yeah.
What do you say? Those are some ideas.
Yeah, there's a bunch of ideas in there. I don't know, Kira Kurosawa.
I would also suggest maybe instead of full movies, try clips.
We're getting into Martin Scorsese through American movies. I'm just having flashbacks. I've never been a clip guy. I'm like, show the whole movie. That's how I've always been behind
In
it.
this context, I disagree. I say
Really?
you have a silent cinema day where you show some choice moments from Nosferatu, some choice moments from the Battleship
I'm
Potemkin.
thinking it's not going to have the impact. You need to take it all in.
You don't think the Odessa Steps sequence will have the impact if you just show it to them in
So
isolation?
I was shown films out of context when I did do a university film course when I was in high school, and it didn't have the impact that I think the TA thought it was going to.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is that's how kids consume stuff now, is in like little clips, the little dopamine thing. And so, and the reality is if you don't show them that whole movie, they probably won't watch the whole movie. And the other thing is they need to fill that day.
Yeah.
They have hours to fill.
Yeah.
If you watch that whole movie.
All right, Singing in the Rain.
In the rain. All right, kids. Citizen Kane, Sitting in the Rain, Gone
Canon.
with the Wind.
I probably have to give one that's like by a female filmmaker.
Jean Dinman, the number one movie.
Yeah, because like I don't want to just uphold the old canon.
What is Chantal Ackerman's like Letters to My Mother?
Oh, News from Home.
News from Home. There you go. That's a good one.
That's interesting. I would be interested how a high school class would react
How
to that
long
one.
is that one?
It's like
it's an
it's
hour
only an
30.
hour. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
it's an hour 30.
I thought it was an hour. Yeah.
Well, there would be some people in the class who would react very violently to that. And
I like how it just makes me think of them being like, ah!
there would be people who would get really upset at that, but there might be some people who would really like it.
And you just need to
And
connect
all-
with that one or two
And
people, right?
all of them would remember it.
Yes.
There would be people years from now from that class being like, you wouldn't believe this movie that he showed us where it's just like street scenes with a woman reading letters from her mother. Yeah. Yeah, okay, News from Home. I like it.
There you go.
Just be ready to be hated.
I can't believe they showed us this. Or Shrek 2.
Yeah.
Superior to Shrek.
The kids will love all the references to like 2004. Show them Fahrenheit 9/11 because we need to get Bush out of office.
Wait, what was the follow-up one that he made?
Fahrenheit 11/9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one too?
Yeah.
Could he show them like Roger and Me? Do you think that would have...
I think the kids would like Roger and Me.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there'd be some complaint from a conservative parent or something.
Or
I
they
don't
could
know.
show him Super Size Me and it's like Rest in Power.
Yeah.
Or Where in the World is Osama Bin Laden?
Yeah, they would love that. Did you ever watch Bowling for Columbine in school?
No.
I saw that in a lot of classes,
Really?
actually. Yeah.
I mean, that's such an easy to reach, like, oh, this is a good movie.
it's a good movie and it's like smart, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it plays like a reality show.
Someone just start a podcast based around watching that man's movies.
Yeah.
And then ditch it when you run out of movies.
It never
right.
changed the title for some reason.
No, you that's what you are now.
Yeah.
You're gonna tattoo that man's face on your body. So, what is Michael Moore up to these days?
No idea.
No?
I would love to know.
Okay.
I hope he comes back.
Wasn't he on Twitter for a while? Like,
Yeah. He had a
just gone.
podcast for a bit. I don't know.
you know what? There's only one place for a Michael Moore related thing, and you guys took that crown. So, from the man himself.
I think it's fucked up that they just sell guns at a bank. That's what I
Hey,
think.
you know, in Canada, you can just walk up and the doors are unlocked.
Yeah. Well, in Canada, it's like locking a door. It's like locking us in, not locking the outside out. Just think about that.
Is that apart from that movie?
I mean,
don't
the
remember.
fact that Charlton Heston would just walk away from him. Good God.
All right, coming up next week, we're doing Michael Moore podcast.
What if we did Michael Moore? That'd be so funny. No, I don't. I never.
Episode 400.
Man, I'm tempted to do that.
No,
but the thing is, I never want to see a Michael Moore movie ever again. I so overdosed on him.
So this week on our Patreon, I took a trip to Tokyo. So I talk about it on a podcast.
We take the temperature of what does film culture in Japan look like to a tourist.
Yeah.
We learn about the Studio Ghibli Museum, Disneyland Tokyo, all of the strange sex stores apparently that are in Japan.
Did you know there's vending machines on every corner?
Oh man.
Wow.
I'm holding in my hand a little Manila action figure that Justin got, and
Yeah.
he's a good boy.
I visited the Godzilla store. It's very small. It made me sad.
Oh, too bad.
Get your dirty lips off my Manila.
I kissed Manila. So next week on the podcast, we're going to have a little more fun, I think. We're talking about a character.
Yes. According to my mother, the first character in a movie that I truly loved, that I would wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning screaming his name so I put the VHS to watch his adventures.
It was Jeffrey Rush as the Marquis de Sade
That's
in
right.
Quills.
Love it. Or I'm trying to think of what movies came around. The Dangerous Liaisons with John Malkovich.
That's right. No, folks, it's Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
Now, did you watch
the wonderful thing about Tigger is Tigger's a wonderful thing.
Did you watch Winnie the Pooh when you were a kid?
I had on VHS Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, which I watched a lot. Have you seen that one?
That's not. So I had The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the compilation film of all the shorts that Disney made.
So I think that was one of the shorts.
Okay.
It was the one that introduced Tigger, who I believe was not in the original Milne stories. Maybe
Yeah.
he was. I don't know.
And so
I'll find out this week.
I thought it would be fun to go revisit a character that I've had no real nostalgia for. Like, I've never revisited Winnie the Pooh or anything like that. He's never gone away. Did you know that he continues to persist because the wife of the author sold the rights to a guy who just basically, like, he was in charge of them? That the guy was one of the first, like, licensors that, like, took a property and sold it and packaged it? Mostly because the wife, they were not speaking to Christopher Robin, the real one, who had disconnected from the family. And so she just wanted nothing to do with Winnie the Pooh. The curse on their family.
Too bad.
But so there's the Disney films. I thought it would be fun to like look through how has Winnie the Pooh evolved. I think out of all like the classic characters, he's maybe evolved the least over time. Like there's no lunatics Winnie the Pooh.
Right, Lunatics Unleashed,
Yeah.
the radical Looney Tunes.
That's right.
They were alien superheroes. Yeah.
So let's watch The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the compilation film. Let's watch one of the theatrical films. There was three. There was Winnie the Pooh, the Tigger movie.
Let's
and
watch the Tigger
movie. Yeah, I think that one's released theatrically. And why don't we watch the Alex Ross Perry written Christopher Robin? Have you seen it?
No, with Ewan McGregor.
Yes.
All
Let's
right.
let's watch that. So that'll be Winnie the Pooh episode.
Wow.
We're bringing in like, listen, we need those hits. People love Winnie the Pooh. Do people still love him? At Disneyland, I was shocked at how much Winnie the Pooh merchandise they had.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Is there a show on now?
I mean, there's probably always a show. Did you ever watch that show that it was on when we were kids where it was like people in suits?
Yes.
It was horrifying.
It was called Too Smart for Strangers.
What?
Yeah. There was a look up Too Smart for
What
Strangers
is
with
that?
Winnie the Pooh. It was a video where Winnie the Pooh teaches you not to get in anyone's van, and it's a
It sounds
guy.
like you're making it up.
No, I saw it. Look it up and be horrified. I watched this in my senior kindergarten class.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. That's a suit from the Winnie the Pooh.
Okay.
It's just like Winnie the Pooh was never met like the live action one. Like he's too thin. He's with like
You're body shaming him.
you know what? He's got something that the main character doesn't have. He has like whites of his eyes, which Winnie the Pooh doesn't have.
Oh my God.
Am I giving you PTSD flashback?
I'm gonna watch Too Smart for
You
Strangers.
know what? I'll watch it too.
You, me, and Paul Kurup will be the three people who have logged that.
Of Canucksploitation.com.
Yeah.
Did you give that one?
Oh, I'm just assuming.
All right, so that's what we'll be doing next week. Until then, my name's Justin Clue.
I'm Will Sloan.
Thanks for listening.
So to go out and shoot, it could cost you thousands of dollars. Action scenes of me jumping off of this building, you don't have to have a stunt person to do it. You can just go out and do it with AI. You'll be able to render a whole movie. You'll just come up with an idea for a movie, then it'll write the script, then you'll input the script into the video generator, and it'll generate the movie. Instead of watching some movie that somebody else came up with, I can generate and then watch my own movie.
I mean, those sound like the smart words of one Ashton Kutcher
Actually, those words came from Satan.
himself.
Yeah, the Prince of
Oh,
Darkness.
you didn't do a voice when you read it.
Yeah. No, he's going to sound like that when he appears. So that's what Ashton Kutcher has to say about AI. What do you think?
I think AI is bad.
Here's the thing about AI. I've never seen an AI image that I liked.
No, never.
I don't think
I
so.
have some nude women to show you.
Oh, God. I like those least of all.
Yeah. Here's the thing about it. Like, have you seen those AI videos that they're making? Where it's like you type in
Oh, my
whatever.
God. Yeah, I have seen some of
You know
those.
what the thing is? Is that like it's really hard for it to generate those images, and that like you can't even control it that well. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants it.
It's like the internet dreaming of itself, but also not, because like a real person would have better dreams than that.
Yeah.
You know?
That they're lame and that
They're just slop. They're
Yeah.
ugly.
I don't. But even if they were beautiful, like would that change how you feel about it?
I mean, maybe to some degree. I'm always hesitant about like laying down, real dogmas. I mean, the thing about art is it's a communication between an artist and
An audience.
An audience. And I think that's an important equation.
As opposed to just a computer scraping off something that exists and then
Well, this actually, I think, is the real fundamental problem here. It's like, it's just taking what everybody else has done.
Yeah.
And, you can talk about, oh, well, all art is derivative. A sitcom that somebody writes is derivative of other sitcoms.
Yeah.
But no, like, yeah, all art's derivative, but that's where originality comes from the human factor of somebody
thinking about it,
Yeah.
processing it, putting out back in the world.
I mean, people say that, like, could AI create The Sopranos? There's been a lot of, like, mob shows and mob movies before that.
No!
But there was...
No, it
yeah,
couldn't.
No.
Period.
But what it can do is create a Sopranos episode that's bad out of all the other Sopranos episodes.
Yes. I remember when I was a kid reading a fan script of a Simpsons episode, and it was just jokes from other Simpson episodes reconfigured. That's what it is. That's all it is.
Any art that's been good, there's been like an idea that's been provocative, or not any art that's good, but like any art that's changed anything. And in fact, most art that's good too. There's been some juxtaposition. If all art's derivative, then the juxtaposition of elements is startling or shocking.
Well, the wild thing about all this AI stuff is that it is a copyright nightmare. That
Yes.
like all the people, they don't want to talk about where they're getting the information to put these images together, which is just scraping YouTube. Did
Now-
you hear that Scarlett Johansson thing that came out?
I did.
They used her voice.
Yeah,
And they asked her twice, and she said no both times. And they did it anyway.
It's dystopian. It's terrifying. I mean, I would like to think that the copyright problem would put a stop to it, but knowing the world we live in.
No. Oh, yeah. All the successful copyright legislation that has gone through.
Yeah, I'm sure there are all sorts of Supreme Court justices who will just be like, oh, yeah, there's no copyright
Unless
anymore.
Disney gets behind it.
Yeah.
That's basically the only like mega corporation that would be like, you can't make this to like look like this, I guess.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like even AI, I could type in like make a movie starring me and Will, and we're two Batmans going on adventures. No one wants that. You don't want exactly what like you want.
That's right.
People don't understand that.
Right.
Like,
But they will, because none of this stuff is actually going to catch on.
no, you don't think so?
Well, okay, I say that. You go on Facebook, which is a cesspool.
Holy shit. Did you see that account people were posting where it was like just photos of people in bed with like guns and every image was that?
I just hate that, like, there are, my feed will have a million things where it'll be like, oh, what if Batman met
Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, and there they are, and it's an awful AI. It doesn't look like Calvin, doesn't
You know
look like Batman. And then there are a million comments from old people
this is
being like,
beautiful.
this is great.
You know what it reminds me of? Remember that wave of those like mashup t-shirts?
Oh, yeah.
Where
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
everywhere where it'd be like the Millennium Falcon and I don't know. It was very popular 10
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
That went away because people, when you're given exactly what you want, you sour to it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And that you do want to be challenged. You want something else. What do you think about, was it Disney that recently made they did like a public announcement, so it's like, we're trying not to focus on biographical kind of.
Oh, I know
story.
what this was. It was Pixar.
Yeah.
They were like, well, movies like Turning Red and Luca haven't done well enough for us because they were too much about the director's own personal expression. We need brands.
Yeah.
Like Lightyear.
They didn't say brands. They said more general emotional story. What the fuck are you talking about?
So, I mean, I haven't seen Turning Red, but like that was
Great
a movie.
movie.
They dumped it on Disney Plus.
Yes, they did dump it on Disney
Okay.
Plus.
They gave Lightyear the whole rollout.
Yeah.
And nobody liked it.
Nobody liked it.
went to see it. So I
Nobody
don't know.
wants that.
Yeah.
Or didn't they say that like after the failure of Lightyear that they're like, we got Toy Stories coming out of our hoo-ha. We got Inside Out 2, 3, 4.
Pixar is a disturbing lesson on like you can't love a brand too much, because a brand will disappoint you.
Well, a brand has to continue building and growing.
A brand is not a person.
No, I remember being like, Pixar never made a bad movie.
Yeah.
That there was a time I could say that with a straight face.
Yeah, and now they're not anything.
They're not anything. They're nothing.
Well, I mean, what happened
Listen,
too was
ever since they lost their guiding light, John Lasseter, whatever happened to that guy?
oh, he passed away, I think.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. He's not at like DreamWorks or one of those companies.
They were also actually bought wholesale by Disney. They used to
were.
be an independent company
Yep,
that
and then
released.
Disney was distributing their movies.
And so then when Disney bought them, and they bought them, I think, after Ratatouille or something, so you'll never get another movie about a French rat.
Nope. You're never going to get... Well, Elemental was an original film. Was that a Pixar film?
I don't even really keep up with them anymore, to be honest. It feels like
It
it was
was,
a
because
Pixar
it was
film.
directed by the guy who did The Good Dinosaur.
I think the last one I saw was Inside Out.
That was a long time ago.
I know.
That was like 10 years ago.
I know. And there's a sequel coming out.
Yep. Leave that long break there.
Yeah.
because
I should see Turning Red probably.
You should see
People say
Turning
it's
Red.
good. Yeah.
it takes place in Toronto. You'll see all the sights. They ride the streetcar. They're in Chinatown.
Yeah.
You say that with a straight face.
I was in Chinatown this week, but
I
okay.
know, but
sure.
now you can see it animated.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. No, I'm sure it's great. People have told me it's great.
But yeah, this is bad. People are not learning the right lessons about what it takes to, make entertainment that
Yeah,
people
okay,
like.
and I think what I'm really getting at is I have two conflicting feelings, and it's almost like an unstoppable force and an immovable object.
Kind of like a Batman
and a Joker.
Yeah.
Right. So the Batman in this situation is the fact that I just don't see it catching on for all the reasons we said.
Yeah.
The Joker is the fact that, well, everything keeps getting worse.
Yep.
And the people in power are determined to make it
The
worse.
thing
So
is
why
that
not?
It's not going to make any money, though.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what it'll come down to. They're like, if you keep giving us slop, people don't see Lightyear.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, they aren't going to make Lightyears anymore.
That's right.
Was Lightyear a, like, personal vision?
Well, it was the personal vision of Andy, the child.
Yeah,
who-
this was the movie that he saw in the theater.
That's right.
It was so funny. And that was all because of that tweet Chris Evans made, where it's like, this is not the story of Buzz Lightyear, it's the story of the man that inspired Buzz Lightyear.
You're watching it and it's like, oh, that kid's really bad taste.
Did you see Buzz?
I did. I saw Lightyear. Yeah.
Oh,
so
you did,
I've
Michael,
I've
and
seen
us
that
episode
one.
on
Yeah. I wasn't very good.
No, didn't see it. Why
Yeah.
would I see that? It looks bad.
Yeah. Felt pretty ridiculous going to a matinee of that movie, I'll tell you.
All right, so me and Will, next Pixar movie that comes out, will be there.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
What if they got the AI voice of Jim Varney to play Slinky one last time?
Oh, no, I don't want that. Let
If
the man
they
rest.
made an AI Ernest film, like photorealistic.
I would go see it just out of earnest completionism.
Yeah.
What a sad sentence.